If it's your first time designing a website or you're starting to work on more client websites and you're trying to figure out how do you select the right fonts for any client website so that when you deliver it or when you're presenting your website, you feel confident about the fonts. This is something that took me a lot of time to figure out, but now I have, in the last few years, have never had a client come back to me and say, could we try a different font? Over the last few years, this has been dialed in a way where the first time they see it, they love it. There's no questions asked. So I'm gonna show you how I think about this. It's different for all types of clients because you could have 1,000 different businesses, whoever you are watching this, but I'm gonna do my best to answer any of your questions and give you ways to think about it, what to avoid, and how to start. As we get into this, the first thing I would say too is once you actually do this process, I would just time yourself 10, 15 minute block and say by the end of this 15 minutes, I am gonna select my fonts so that you don't waste a ton of hours and a ton of time trying to figure out which fonts to use and never actually launching your website or feeling afraid to show it to a client. So I'm gonna break this down for you, how I think about fonts, getting them set up on Squarespace. All right, the first thing we're gonna wanna do is go to Site Styles. In here, you're gonna see a lot of different options, and if you click on themes or you click on fonts, you're gonna get some like predefined settings, but we're gonna click on this little arrow right here, and that's where we're gonna do all the work today. All right, first and most important tip is the base size font. Keep it around 16 to 18, depending on your paragraph to text. That is what everything pivots around. So if I go to paragraph and I go to paragraph 2 right here, this is supposed to say at 1 rem, ideally. Like if you want this bigger, you don't want to make it bigger this way. You want to keep it at 1 rem, and then you'll go to the base font and you'll make this bigger. As you see, it changes everything because that's the base. And so paragraph 2 is 1 rem, everything else fluctuates around that. So in this case, I'm going to keep it at, let's just say 17 for now. Now let's go into these font packs. Key thing you need to know here. You have sans serif, you have serif, and then you have mix. Well, what's the difference? I don't know the proper name. I can maybe look it up right now, but these little like GIFs right here, this little thing, this little thing, this little thing at the end of the D, at the end of the A, at the end of the H, those are serifs, or how we would define a serif font. When you go to sans serif, sans means without. So these fonts are gonna be without these little GIFs or whatever, these little trinkets. In terms of this, the key thing to think about is what kind of style are you trying to communicate? If you are a modern brand, if you are cool, if you are sophisticated, if you are trying to portray confidence at a high level, sans serifs work great. They do that really easily. You could feel very modern, elegant, I'd say modern, confident, sophisticated, really easily with just a sans serif font set. If you want something that's more elegant, maybe a little more dainty, thin, luxurious in some ways, you could also use serifs. Serifs work really great for that. Serifs work really good for like a lot of body text, a lot of paragraph text. If there's a lot of reading on your website, serifs work great for your paragraph text. And then there is that combination where you could do both, where you can have some type of header that's, let's say, a sans serif that's more strong like this, with a body text that is more reader-friendly, legible, all of that. And the key things we're looking for here, not just beauty, that's gonna be our main goal, but the filters we wanna go through. Is the font legible? Is it easy to scan? And what is the readability? These things all matter. I can show you an example right now of what happens when you don't pay attention to these things, and it could look quote unquote cool, but it can be really, really hard to navigate and read. So we're gonna start here with a very thin heading font. And then for the paragraph text, I'm gonna do this. It's a beautiful font, but it would not work good as a paragraph text. All right, so taking a look here, like you could do all these different things with fonts, but this is really hard to read. It's not present, it's not prominent, it's pretty hidden. On top of that, this is kind of nice, but the challenge is it's really hard to read in a small, it's really hard to scan. And you want your website to be easily scannable because people don't know your business and people don't waste time trying to figure it out. They want to see it, understand it, and if they're confused, they're going to spend less time on it. So you want to make it easy to view. That is one thing I do see with a lot of first timers. The website is just There's a lot going on. It's really chaotic. The fonts are speaking way too much. You don't want the font to speak. You want the words to speak. And then the font, what it does is just support the brand feel overall. So that's core idea here as we get started. Now, let's take a look at some of my favorite font packs. This will be fun. All right, I love Manrope and Poppins. It is a gorgeous set of fonts. Manrope looks really nice as a header. I'd probably make this thicker, but it looks really, really nice. If you're sick of Poppins because Squarespace uses it a lot, I will show you some tricks that you can use to really make it beautiful overall. But in this case, this font set is really gorgeous. Next, this looks really nice. It has a bit of character. I feel like it's a little bit playful. So if you have a younger brand or if you're appealing to say mothers or maybe schools as a consultant or something like that, this font is really nice for a header. I usually go with, and we'll talk more about this with all of these, I usually go with a semi-bold, maybe bold for the headings. And then for the paragraph text, we want to go for 400. So semi-bold is 600 and paragraph text is 400. I'll show you what that is really quickly so you get a sense of that. For headings here, you'll see this heading is at 400. It's nice, but ideally I want to go to 600. Already it feels, the hierarchy feels clear. When I see heading 2 and I see a paragraph text, it makes it really clear for me to navigate. From there, for the body text, it's probably already at 400, but yeah, ideally 400. Sometimes there's 300 or 200. We don't want to go too low. 500 becomes a little bit too thick, and for sure 600 becomes too thick. Could work depending on your brand, but if you're new to this, those numbers work great to start. From here, let's take a look at a few more. Epilogue is a really nice font. I like this. Again, I think it's a little bit thin right here. It could be a little bit thicker. And there's a few other things we could work on to really like customize it and personalize it. That's really nice. I would stay away from things like this. This is just so loud that the font is just doing way too much. This is doing way too much. Like you have to be really like, this is really hard to use to even understand. Like as I look at this, my eyes are perplexed. It's so hard to like start to read this. It forces my brain to work a ton. It's fun to be creative and cool, but in most use cases like this, it gets really hard to make it really beautiful. This again is really hard to read if you have a lot of text with it. It's really tall and thin. So there's just some things here that I would just definitely stay away from. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I don't know if we need all that. This is a lot going on. It's cool, but there's just a lot happening, as well as this, a lot happening. It really is like prominent and it really grabs a lot of attention. If you're using 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 words, it works great. But if you're gonna put a decent size header, it's gonna be really hard to read. And then even in a small size like this is really hard to read. So the text has to be really big, and then you gotta consider desktop and mobile. So these are things I just stay away from generally for most websites. Let's go back in here. This Gothic feel, this Della Gothic 1, I think is really nice, feels good. This one's a little thick right now in this current format. I do a little thinner because this A is getting a little too busy, but the other letters look really nice. The body text looks really, really nice. Some other ones I like Work Sans. Rubik is nice. This is a good combination here. Yeah, I would definitely sign off on that. Manrope again here. This is really nice. Epilogue. These two fonts are really good together. So here's Epilogue in a thinner format. Again, I'd probably hit the 600. This is like a 400. Epilogue and Poppins, those are really nice. These, I think we looked at. Yeah, those are a lot that I really, really love. Now, if we talk about serifs, there are a few here that are really beautiful. We could take a look here. So this is really nice. I like young serif. Bitter might be a little bit too much. I might go back to like a Poppins in that case. I like young serif. The only thing is it only has one weight. So you can't make it bolder or you can't make it lighter. It is basically just that one weight. Here, this is nice. It's very elegant, more like historic. It feels like kind of like 1920s, 1930s type of feel. This is nice. Headings are a little hard to read at that current size. All caps is, again, more elegant. It's gonna have a different type of demand in legibility. This to me is like a no-go for 90% of people. Websites, this, yeah, it could work. I don't really like it. I don't think it's very modern. This is cool, but again, it just is a lot. This feels like an upscale cafe, upscale hotel, something like that, which can work. But then from there, you could find the right mix by combining both of them. Typically, you can do, let's see this. This could look nice. I don't really like a mono. Yeah, I don't really like a mono for the body text. That doesn't make the most sense. Mono is Could work, but as a body text, as a paragraph text is a lot. Again, this is a lot. This font is just, there's a lot going on. This works, the display here, but it's a display font, so it should be more in a header. I'll just leave it at that. Let me go back to something I actually like. Let's go to man rope. This is super simple and you're like, oh, maybe it's too like, there's no character here. Well, let's make it pretty cool. All right, so man rope here, this is set to 500. Let's see what 600 is, and let's go 7. I may do something like that. What about 800 is a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna do this actually. I'm gonna give you a combination to show you some stuff I like. So there's a font called DM, is it DM Serif? Yeah, DM Serif Display. Again, this one doesn't have a lot of font options in terms of the weights. There's only one weight, but it looks really good as it is. Here, I always play with the letter spacing just a bit. It is really nice if you just kind of curl it in a bit. You don't want it too much, like this is too much, it becomes hard to read, but 0.2, maybe 0.3. I'll stick with 0.2 for now. Probably want the font sizes to be a little bit bigger. Line height 1.2 is nice. So the line height is up here. You can see this. If I change that, that's what it changes. So 1, anything below 1 is going to be hard to read. 1 is nice. 1.2 is a great feel, makes it really easy to read. And generally, I think I would probably go a little bit higher. So here we're going to go to 4.6, 3.2, 2.4. It's great. And then 1.8. Yeah, perfect. That looks great. And then here, let's go to paragraph. We have it set to pop-ins right now. We could keep that. We can go to like work sans. Perfect. Oh, it's super thin. Let's change that. So, all right. So 400, that could work out really well. I don't know if I like work sans with DM, this pop-in or this serif up here, but I'm playing with it as I go and showing you how I think about it. So 400 here, line height is 1.5, letter spacing, I wouldn't change that on a paragraph text. In this case, I wouldn't change that. Paragraph 1, 1.4, could be a little bit bigger, but I'll leave it at that. Paragraph 2, remember we said we'll keep it at 1. Paragraph 3 could be 0.8, but I might go a little bit smaller. And then I'd use this font as like all caps anywhere, like as a little like, this is the about, and then like talk about the about section or something like that for the site. Some other things you could work out is like here, if I go to pop-ins, people don't like pop-ins because Squarespace has used it a ton on their templates, but I think you could really make pop-ins beautiful. What I do here to really like get the most of it is go 600, 1.2 for the line height. And then for the letter spacing, this is what it usually looks like. I think it's a little bit too much. And so if you go here, you go like 0.4. In this case, like 0.4 looks really nice. Like this feels really good. This feels really good. Like it feels super professional right there at 600. And then you do have all the options, which is awesome. And then you could do that same thing for the body font. And you just made pop-ins, a super simple font, look really, really good. So let's go in here. We'll go pop-ins. Boom, just like that. All of it just looks really elegant. Buttons, everything feels really, really nice. Just like that. Now, if you got value from this and you want more help with setting up fonts, I have some products down below. You could check in the first link, digital products that you could purchase, access right away. So you can learn more about fonts or design or SEO or blogging or any of that with Squarespace.